joining us is, one, we're going to try to invite the audience to want to view the show.
What we will say is you are waiting to explore the multi-dimensions of your mind, your body, your spirit, and the forgotten territories, the emotions.
The four tenets of the Sophist Speaks weekly.
Hi, we're here at the Sophist Speaks this Thursday. It's wonderful to be here, and I'm Tasili Ma'at, and our guest today is Sister Dr. Khadija Askari. I call her sister because I feel close to her in so many ways, and she's a very down-to-earth and warm person, so even in going to her in a professional capacity, I still feel very comfortable around her. And we're really blessed to have her here today, and she's going to elaborate on the services that she's offering as well as the experiences that she's had in the area of healing. The whole focus of the Sophist Speaks is to promote the understanding of the way the energy works on the mind, the body, the spirit, and the emotion, and how that all connects to wellness. So can you, Dr. Askari, go into what that means and how you got started with what you're doing?
Sure, I'd be glad to. First, it's really great to be here and good to see you again. And when you share with me that the Sophist means the teacher, you know, that was really exciting to me because I always tell the clients and patients who come into my office that doctor also has his root from the word to teach. And that's our primary responsibility. I remember when my journey as a healer, as a physician first started, my mentors was practicing when he was 90 years old.
Wow.
And
awesome.
things. He was one, your second thing, do the right thing, and the money.
Yeah. There's a book.
There's a book like that?
Yeah, call that Do What You Love and the Money Will Come.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I know that he's that's true. Throughout my journey, that's been something that I could always fall back on. So what we try to do with patients that come in with us who have particular problems or things that they want to address is to educate them about how to heal themselves. And we really are just facilitators in that journey because we know, first of all, that the Creator is responsible for healing everything.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that we're just a vehicle for you to tap into, whether it's nutritional information, or have somebody to listen to so that your spirit and mind feels better, whether you need herbal therapy, whether you need an antibiotic, you know, whether you need aromatherapy, whatever it is that is going to assist you in feeling better, then we try to steer you in the direction that you can pick up those resources, you can educate yourself, and you can really heal yourself. The other thing that my mentor used to tell me is that, you know, if you just listen, 80% of the people who come into your office will tell you exactly what's wrong with them.
That's such a powerful statement because really you said a couple of things that make the word empowerment come to mind. One being that the audience can heal themselves. And that's so key because today with all of this homeland security and all of this so-called terror going on, people feel so powerless. They feel as if controlling in their lives. Every other commercial on television is drug-related, something that's going to help them to not heal their imbalance or sickness, but control it or suppress it. And you stated that you help your patients to actually heal themselves. That's really empowering because then that means somebody can actually take their lives into their own hands and give it some direction. They can actually have some say-so. So what are some of the ways that you do that?
Like you mentioned, when we take a stand that the patient can heal themselves, it's not only empowering for the patient, it's empowering for us because they're a lot better at doing that.
Right.
They're much, much better at doing that than we are. And so it's really empowering to facilitate people on that journey to wellness. Again, the first thing we do is to come from a place that's the highest and the best in that person. We come from a place that you truly can heal yourself. Okay. So in that aspect, we're addressing your energy, your mind, your spirit, And then realizing that even as a physical being, you're unique. And the thing that makes you unique is the flux or the flow of all those different dimensions of your personality. So we try to provide resources that educate people. We put on seminars at our facility that deal with anything from alternatives to natural vaccines, alternatives to traditional vaccines, so that there is a way to naturally vaccinate your children and even your animals, okay, even your dogs and your cats, and even yourself. And how to come from a space if you don't want to even vaccinate at all. How to even, step out into that kind of space and still feel comfortable and secure,
right.
And still be empowered.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit more, especially now, because this is the beginning of the flu season, and, the regular medical industry is directing people to get flu shots. And they're going so far as to tell people that, there may be a shortage, which means there may be an epidemic. And again, it's promoting that fear factor, causing the population to really, really be powerless or to feel powerless. So what kind of alternative ways can you suggest to the audience that they could pursue if, in fact, they're not interested in shots, but they want to build up their immune system? Because isn't that key, having a strong immune system?
That's definitely key. So the main thing, again, just like the Sophist as a teacher, is to educate people to what does that mean that there's going to be a flu epidemic? Does that mean that, everybody's going to be walking around with the flu? No, it doesn't mean that. And to educate people to what is being put out there traditionally as a response to that, or what your alternatives are. Like, a lot of people don't understand that the flu vaccine is not based on the flu viruses that may or may not be predominant in the environment in the year coming. It's from previous studies. Wow. And if they know a little bit about vaccines and about viruses, they'll know that viruses adapt very quickly to their environment. So the things that we were giving people to, or shots that were supposed to protect people last year, the viruses have adapted. They learn really fast, and they're like, that's nothing to me, okay? But your own host defense system, or your body's ability to heal itself, like you mentioned, through your immune system, which is the things in your body to help you fight off things that aren't supposed to be there, that learns really just as fast as the viruses, if not faster. So we try to teach you how to increase your immune response during the time of the year when we may be exposed to more things. And for people who are, let's say you have a lifestyle where you're really out there and you're coming into contact with a lot of people, there are other things you can incorporate. There's aromatherapy you can use. There's certain types of natural disinfectants you can use. There's things in the homeopathic domain of medicine that you can use. Like for me and my family, what we do during this time of the year, and for my grandkids, is I start them on a homeopathic remedy called Psyllium. And it's a flower-based remedy. And if you just pick it up, like from the health food store, it'll say it may say like for stage fright or sudden attacks. But, what is a virus? It's a sudden attack.
Right.
Okay. So it really facilitates you in those kind of transitions. And if you notice, when does flu come around? When that change in season is coming. So it's really not just that this flu virus is so powerful. We as human beings, as energy beings, are going through an influx because of just the change in our environment. That's what makes it so prevalent around that time. So what we do as a family, and what I recommend a lot to my patients, is just start taking Psyllium sometime toward the end of September through December, once a week. I've never gotten the flu vaccine. I've never had the flu, so it's working pretty good for me, and it doesn't cost a whole lot to try it. So, I invite everybody to just, as one thing, take that home with you today and look at that.
Right. You've said a couple of things that I'd like for you to go into a little more detail about. One being that you can get it from a health food store. Does that mean any health food store, or does that mean the health food section in a regular grocery store, or does it need to be an independent health food store?
Well, for that particular homeopathic remedy, which is called Psyllium, you probably can find it in most health food stores. There are a lot of commercial chains like Publix and Kroger's now that are getting into having sections for alternative kinds of things. Like they may have teething salts for kids, which is a homeopathic home remedy. They'll have things, essential oils. You can find them almost in any kind of store these days because, as the public becomes more educated, we shift the environment from one that is not empowering to one that's empowering. When we claim our own power back, our whole society is going to change and become healthier.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can agree with you in terms of the health food stores becoming more involved in empowerment, as well as some of the major grocery stores too, because I know many of them now have a health food section where they will sell herbal teas. And one of the things that my family does during this time of year is to do a cleanse. You know, we've been eating very different types of food at, during the summer, foods that sometimes are heavier or that may be more mucus forming. And when the weather starts to shift, we do a cleanse. You know, that may involve maybe a day of fasting, that may involve just eating fruit all day long or that type of thing to help us detox. Would you recommend that? And if so, what types of herbal remedies would you suggest? Say a person doesn't have transportation to get to the health food store, but they could get to a Publix or a Kroger. What kinds of things would you suggest that they take?
Well, now one of the things that I always like to tell people is that you are a unique individual. So take everything with that kind of philosophy in mind. That there's health food stores everywhere. There are herbs and everywhere. You can get it now from Walmart's, Publix. But the thing is that sometimes there's a danger in that, because what works for you may not work for me, and it's really good to have a facilitator or provider on your team, like the people who work with us at Shifa Medical Center, to help guide you through that maze if you have really serious things. For, really general things, like you mentioned, you want to just sort of adjust your living for the season, so to speak, and, just like you do spring cleaning in your house, and you want to do a little detox or clean for yourself, and you just want to, run to the grocery store, the first thing I'll tell people is lemon. Lemon is excellent detoxing and cleansing agent.
Yeah.
So if you want to go on fast, you just do lemon and water, increase that amount, so to speak. You're going to feel a difference. You're going to feel a difference, Even taking lemon and washing your hands with it and putting it in the things that you're cleaning the house with.
Isn't that amazing? Just the simple things that the Creator has provided for us, so that we have really everything we need right there in front of us. And if we just use it, it would prevent so many problems. You named some things like aromatherapy, homeopathy. Can you just touch on what those things actually mean? Because a lot of our listeners have not been exposed to those terms, and they're curious, and they don't necessarily know where to go to find out what those things mean. And a lot of times people don't want to be embarrassed or be perceived to not know.
Sure. And as healers and as teachers, it's always an honor to sort of share that kind of information with us. We just live in a society of names. We're always putting labels on things, and so, those terms, signify particular modalities or ways to heal yourself that, may not be what we call, quote unquote, traditional. They're not antibiotics, they're not shots. They're usually plant-based things. Like, for instance, at our center, we expose people and provide them with all those different modalities. Homeopathy. Homeo, of course, means like self, and that means a concept of self-healing. It's an area of medicine that dates way back to, to the healing arts in Africa, and spilled over into Europe and America from that standpoint. And homeopathic remedies are usually plant-based, mineral-based. Some of them nowadays are also maybe an animal nose-note or animal-based. But I always tell people, like, homeopathic remedies are like taking like a little mirror, and usually they're in the form of drops or like a little tissue salt or a little tablet that allows the body to see what it should look like and sort of clean itself up. Okay. It also falls into it's a crossover between like our physical and our energy domain, because you're taking something physical, but when people make homeopathic remedies, they take really the energy out of the physical flower, for instance, like the Jacillium flower. There's a way that you make that remedy so you get the energy of that flower, the essence of that flower, as opposed to really the physical entity. That's been a big debate in scientific fields or like the medical fields, because if you analyze, let's say, a homeopathic remedy for Jacillium, they'll say it's nothing in here. But as homeopathic providers, we know in the process of making it, the energy is there, and the people who are doing the studies are not looking for the essence or the energy.
Right.
They're looking for something physical.
Right. That's interesting, too, because the allopathic medicines, the chemical medicines made by the pharmaceutical companies, aren't they mimicking the essence of the plants when they put the chemical combinations together to create those medicines?
I know I'm probably stepping out on a limb here with this one, and I'll probably get a lot of phone calls like, you're just putting malpractice kind of things, like I do from some medical colleagues of mine. But you know, technically, they're not even mimicking those flowers. They're actually mimicking the disease.
Oh, goodness.
You know, this is why you come up with so many side effects from these medications.
Okay, yeah, because, you know, when you listen to these commercials, there are like 10 side effects, you know,
Sure.
and it makes a person wonder, is it even worth it? And certainly I know I wouldn't think it was worth it. You know, I was raised in a medical home. My father is a doctor, and it took me to a place of wanting to find out what was actually causing the disease, what was actually causing the sickness, and that led me to find out about herbs and things of that nature. And so it's important that people understand, though, that Western medicine or allopathic medicine is really an attempt to do what nature does naturally. Would you agree with that? Or would
In
you put
theory,
into
it
other
should
words?
be that way.
Okay, so it's not
But-
even that anymore?
No, unfortunately, you know, in
That's
theory it
too
should be
bad.
that way. But I think what happens is, what you talked about, what causes something, ideology is very important. So if you start from the basis of the disease is what's in power, then you're going to stay on that physical plane. But what we do at Shifa is we start from the basis that you're in power.
Right.
And for some reason, someone is trying to usurp your power, and we bring the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual back into play to harmonize the body so that you remain in power and can empower yourself to a journey of wellness.
That's awesome. Again, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because in this time, in this day and time, when people feel like they have no control over their lives, it is so, so important to know that they can have some say-so, some control.
They can, and it's really important for them to know that you are what you eat, what you think, and what you breathe.
That is really, really key. Please say that again. So that our listening audience can really not only feel you, but hear you and look at the radiance, you know, in your smile, the clarity in your eyes, the beauty of your skin. I mean, you're the picture of health. You really, really are. And so in that sense, people can see what it really looks like to be healthy. So
Okay, again, so the Sophist is just putting it out there. We are what we think, what we eat, and what we breathe.
Absolutely.
So to your health.
Absolutely. Before we go, can you elaborate a little on your journey in Africa? You had a clinic in Senegal, right?
Exactly, yeah. My journey as a healer has been international, so to speak, and been really wonderful. Of course, you know, it started here, you know, in the United States because my inspiration came from my mother, who was a traditional healer herself. And then after studying at Emory University and Morehouse School of Medicine, and having been influenced a lot by the Pan-Africanist movement in those African institutions, I went to Africa. Okay. And I studied there, and I also established a clinic there for women and children with the same name as the clinic here, Shifa Medical Center. Okay. And, you know, it's like, you know, I went home to Mom, and she, you know, sort of picked me up, cleaned me up, got me strong, and said, now get back out there in the world and heal some people, you know. So I'm back here continuing that journey, standing on that commitment and standing on those shoulders of all the healing women that came before us to continue that process.
That is really, really powerful. So many times people don't know what to do in terms of reconnecting with Africa. And I think it's so profound that you took your skills, your time, your energy, and you went home to Africa and you gave, and then you were able to come back and you're still giving in the community. What kind of advice or direction would you give to young people today, as well as, you know, mature adults who have a desire to help, who want to be a part of the healing of the planet, but they're not really clear as to how to start?
The first thing I would say is to heal yourself. And for all of us who can make the journey back to the motherland, you've got to put your feet on that earth to really complete and do that properly and most efficiently. So if you can make that journey, make that journey. If you can't make that journey, you can connect emotionally and spiritually and physically by supporting organizations who, have a Pan-Africanist frame of reference, and by just taking that stand that, the mother you came from is worthy.
Yes. And we have to acknowledge that she's speaking of Mother Africa, and in recognizing that in some way Africa has touched the whole world, you may find yourself drawn to other countries and other cultures. But it's so important to always recognize that the root of civilization is in Africa, and you as an African being have the empowering ability to go wherever you find yourself being called and touch someone in a way that will help to make their life better. And as Dr. Khadijah has said, is to start with yourself, because you become a living example. You become a sophist yourself. We want to thank you very much for spending this afternoon with us. We look forward to being with you again. Once again, Dr. Khadijah Asghari.
Thank you to Philly.
Not really be described verbally.
So you're saying then intuition is an emotion?
I'm saying that it is a form of emotion, yes. It's a higher vibrational frequency of emotion. Because if we look at the word emotion, energy in motion, energy in a rhythmic pattern, then we will have to understand what intuition really is. Intuition is just our ability to perceive very subtle vibrational frequencies that are coming from outside our being and registering inside our being, whether someone else knows it or not. Even to the extent that, you may say, I'm feeling something, I'm really feeling something, but I don't know what it is. But it is still coming from a greater force, a greater source that is outside of us and inside of us at the same time, because it's still a part of one whole energetic frequency, or a part of that one bigger truth, but it is an aspect of the truth, or a relative truth, because it's coming from outside of ourselves and it's being received inside ourselves, and then our own self would have to then interpret to us what that feeling means. People will often say, something told me to wear that blue sweater today, or, and I did it. And I'm so glad I did, because I saw these blue shoes and it matched perfectly, or my boyfriend and I, we ended up wearing the same color today, or you can say, well, something told me to do it, but I didn't, and I see that I should have, because everybody that was in the group was actually wearing blue, and so I was somehow out of sync with what the group was experiencing.
Right.
Now does that make my truth an untruth? No, my truth was that I chose to act contrary or in a discordant way with the harmonious frequency that I was getting, which was saying to go do this thing. But I think the more we don't listen, the more we find that our life does become very discordant. The more we actually.
But I didn't define that as. I've never thought of that as an emotion. I thought of those types of cues as more of an awareness of spirit, or more as an awareness of the integration of our energies. And to hear you describe it in the way that you are, it gives me a different way to look at it, and I have to try to.
Don't you ever get that gut feeling? That's your intuition registering in your lower chakra, or lower energy center, generally coming from a place that is just a raw instinct. Has nothing to do with compassion or a higher understanding of what it is that you're feeling, but it may just be danger. And then all of a sudden you'll look and you'll see a car coming and you'll jump and move a child out of the way. You know, how did you know? You didn't see it. You just all of a sudden had this gut feeling. You know, or say you're playing in the stock market and you just have this gut feeling that you really need to go in and buy this stock right now. And you do, and then it ends up that you get a windfall. Well, you may not even know anything about the stock market. You just got into it, you know, and you just went on a hunch, a feeling. That is an emotion. Now, when you get to the higher levels of emotion, which are intuition, that's where the more subtle gut feelings come in, if you will, because then it no longer simply resonates in the gut. It resonates here, too, in the heart. You know, it may even resonate in the top of your head, in your crown chakra. And you're then feeling this sensation. You're coming into this place of knowing, and it's not something that is even making you. It's like you're having a choice about whether to do or to respond. It's not quite as pronounced, and yet it may be as clear as day at the same time. But it's a feeling, a knowing that this is what you must do, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else. You know, and it tends to be more subtle. Again, the gut feeling tends to be more urgent, more immediate. The subtle frequencies say, well, yeah, I could do this, but I could also do that. But I just know that if I deal with it this way, then there will be a good outcome, even though I may not even know what the outcome is.
Right.
So they're still the same thing, but one tends to be based more upon ambiguity, if I'm making sense.
Right.
And one tends to be more based upon an instinctual sense of survival, if you will, urgency, whereas the other can be contemplated, and yet it's still a knowing that there are changes and there's